The film begins with Kimberly driving to participate in a survival reality show. On the way, she encounters a fork in the road and chooses the wrong path. While talking to her agent on her cell phone, she ends up running over a deformed man. When she gets out of the car to check what happened, he reacts by tearing part of her mouth off with a bite. In shock, Kimberly tries to run back to the car, but another deformed man appears and kills her with an axe. Then the two drag her remains into the forest. Meanwhile, we are introduced to former military man Dale Murphy, responsible for commanding the reality show. He presents the 6 participants of the program: the actress Kimberly, Jonesy, who lives off skateboarding, the model Elena, the artist Nina, Jake, a retired player, and Amber, a former soldier. Dale explains that the 6 were placed together in an isolated forest, with only the clothes they are wearing and their will to survive for 5 days. Finally, he presents the program as welcome to the apocalypse. Later, while everyone is preparing, Michael looks for Kimberly and asks Mara about her. Mara says the actress did not answer, leaving Michael worried, since he needs all 6 participants to start the program. Dale decides to proceed without Kimberly and suggests that Mara take her place. Pressured, she accepts, and Dale informs the group that it is time to head to the survival camp. Dale starts the program and explains that no one can win alone, so they will need to form alliances to complete tasks and prove who deserves to continue. Then he divides the participants into 3 teams and orders everyone to enter the forest to gather food. Dale asks them to check their numbers, since those with the same number will be in the same group. After explaining the rules, he warns that everyone must return at 6 o'clock, when they will decide the first elimination. After that, Michael collects the participants' cell phones and wishes them good luck. Shortly after, one of the assistants says he needs to relieve himself and moves away from the area, but ends up being attacked and killed by one of the cannibals while the cameras continue filming. At the same time, Mara and Nina search for supplies, and Mara suggests hunting an animal, but Nina says she is vegetarian. During the walk, Mara reveals that she hates reality shows and is only there to support Michael in his first project. Not wanting to prolong the subject, Nina says she would leave her boyfriend working alone and tells Mara to keep walking. Dale finishes setting up the cameras in the forest and returns to his vehicle, but notices that the tires have been punctured by arrows. Soon after, he hears a noise and finds one of the cameras destroyed. Furious, Dale threatens whoever is hiding, but ends up being attacked with arrows and runs to take cover. During the escape, he is almost hit by an axe and spots one of the cannibals, so he throws his knife and hits his shoulder. Even wounded, the man pulls out the blade without showing pain, leaving Dale terrified. He tries to escape again, but is knocked out with a punch. Meanwhile, Amber finds an arrow in the forest and improvises a spear, surprising Jonesy. He tries to start a conversation, but Amber comments that it is strange since they have not found any animals. Jonesy understands everything mischievously and jokes that millions of people are watching them. He keeps insisting on the subject until he irritates Amber, who reveals she does not like men. Even so, Jonesy becomes even more excited and continues following her. Meanwhile, Michael films Jake and Elena during an interview, but Jake becomes uncomfortable when Elena starts flirting with him. Michael insists that he continue, since they need to create chemistry for the program. Shortly after, Jake hears a noise and decides to check, but the two follow him to a lake, where Michael tries to film another romantic scene between them. Not understanding the reason for that, Jake refuses and decides to go alone to look for food, leaving Michael and Elena alone. While they talk, the two are watched by one of the maniacs. Elena admits that she wants more prominence on the show, and ends up seducing Michael, who cheats on Mara with her. Nina and Mara continue through the forest until Mara says she needs to rest. Nina insists they need to find food, but during the conversation, Mara accidentally activates an alarm. When picking up the device, Mara discovers that the two have been infected with anthrax and need to run to the river to get the antidote in just 2 minutes. With no choice, they run to save themselves and find the device in the middle of the river. With time running out, Mara climbs an old tree to reach it, but slips and falls into the water. Nina runs to help her. However, Mara manages to grab the device in time and saves them both. The two continue talking through the forest, and Nina begins to open up more to Mara. During the walk, Mara suddenly stops when she sees Michael cheating on her with Elena. Nina approaches and says he is worthless, while Mara is in shock and begins to cry. Nina tries to comfort her and reveals that 6 months earlier she caught her fiancé with her best friend. She says he used her cards and left her with a large debt, so she decided to isolate herself and enter the reality show to try to win the prize and solve her financial problems. Nina insists that the two go down to confront him, but Mara refuses, saying she will handle the situation her own way. Even so, Nina keeps pressuring her, until Mara says she does not want to be like her, making Nina walk away angrily. Back with the group, Jonesy smells something and comments that it smells like barbecue. They follow the scent and find meat being prepared, making Jonesy excited. Amber is suspicious and says it is too easy, suggesting it is a trap from the game. Even so, Jonesy approaches and states that it is not a trap, but a hunter's camp. Amber warns that if that is true, they cannot simply steal the food, but Jonesy insists and asks for help to take some of it, saying they can share it with the others. Amber ends up agreeing, and the two take the meat. At another point in the forest, Dale wakes up tied up in the middle of a chaotic scene. Before he can understand the situation, one of the cannibals appears and begins to torture him, preparing to kill him. Meanwhile, Mara, furious, decides to leave, but Nina warns that she is heading in the wrong direction. Mara spots a cabin and says there might be a phone inside. Nina is suspicious and warns that it could be dangerous, but Mara ignores her and enters the cabin. Mara starts calling for someone, while Nina warns that it is not a good idea. Mara searches the place, saying she will just make a call and then they will leave. She enters one of the rooms and notices some portraits on the wall. Nina approaches and sees that everyone in the family is deformed, leaving both of them apprehensive. While observing, they hear moans and go to check. There they realize they are the people from the photos, and one of the women is about to give birth. The two watch through the crack in the door and are horrified to see one of the people tearing open the woman's belly to remove the baby. Upon noticing that the baby is deformed, panic takes over and they are spotted. Desperate, they lock the door and try to escape through the windows, but soon realize all of them are sealed, leaving them with no way out. They find another exit and manage to open a passage, while the woman breaks down the door. Outside, they run into the forest while being watched by another cannibal. Mara cannot go far and is struck in the head with an axe. Nina continues running desperately and at one moment looks directly at the camera asking for help. The cannibal continues to chase Nina with a bow and she decides to run to hide. He follows her tracks and gets very close to where she is hiding, while she remains silent. When he is about to find her, another maniac appears carrying Mara's body on the hood of a car. The cannibal who was devouring a finger throws the rest near Nina, who holds back from screaming. The two decide to capture her later and leave, allowing Nina to take the chance to escape. Meanwhile, Michael talks to Elena and asks her to keep everything secret. He says he is returning to the trailer, while Elena decides to stay a little longer. After he leaves, one of the cannibals watches Elena, but is interrupted when his partner appears jealous and starts attacking him, activating the spin of faith. The noise is heard by Elena, who thinks it is another of Michael's challenges. In a burst of rage, she destroys the device and attacks the woman, brutally killing her. Then the cannibal kisses his partner, who returns the gesture. Back with Dale, he notices the cannibals arriving with Mara's body. After leaving the woman's body, they move away and one of them approaches to kill Dale. However, he reacts, knocks the enemy down, and uses his knife to free himself. The two engage in combat, and Dale manages to injure him while using another knife to free himself. Even so, the cannibal attacks him again, starting another fight. Dale proves superior and strikes him several times, forcing the man to retreat to get his weapon. Dale catches up, takes the weapon during the fight, and shoots him. Then he goes to Mara and discovers that she is dead, taking her card before leaving the place. At another point, Michael arrives at the trailer and calls for the assistant, but receives no answer. He checks the cameras, which begin to fail, and tries to fix them. Without realizing it, a cannibal approaches and enters the cabin. Michael believes it is the assistant and talks to him while the vehicle starts moving. He soon realizes it is not someone from the program and asks what is happening, but is grabbed by the neck and attacked by the maniac, being struck by an arrow afterward. At the same time, Jake is with Jonesy and Amber enjoying the barbecue. They talk about what they would do if they won the prize, but are interrupted when Nina appears in panic. She warns that they need to leave and says that Mara was killed. Jake asks her to explain better, and Nina reports about the deformed people. Jonesy laughs and says that it is part of the program. Nina insists that she is serious and recalls what happened to Mara. Jonesy tries to convince her that it is special effects, but Nina confronts him and tells the truth to Jake, who ends up agreeing to leave. Jonesy insists that it is just a test to make them quit and says he will stay to win the 100,000. During the argument, Amber notices a tattoo on the barbecue meat. Nina runs away terrified, and the others confirm that it is Kimberly's tattoo. Jonesy feels sick, vomits, and soon everyone panics and runs. Apprehensive, they begin walking through the forest while planning how they will escape. Nina ends up stepping on a trap and injures her foot, making Jake and the others stop to help her. Jake tells the others to go to the trailer and ask for help, saying he will join them soon. He begins to treat Nina's injury and asks for her wrist guard, but she refuses. However, Jake states that he already knows her secret, surprising her. Nina asks how he found out, and Jake explains that after he could no longer play football, he was placed in a support group for suicidal people, which gave him a new perspective. He says he met a girl who used the same method to hide the cuts, and that is how he realized. Jake asks why she did it, and Nina replies that she trusted the wrong people 6 months ago, but that she has already overcome it. After treating the wound, the two continue to find the others. Meanwhile, Dale arrives at the cannibal's cabin in the forest and observes one of the older men in the group. The man enters the place, and while cleaning the floor, is surprised by Dale, who threatens him and orders him not to react. At the same time, Amber and Jonesy arrive at the trailer, but do not find anyone and wonder what happened. Jake and Nina appear shortly after, and Jake comments that the nearest town is about 20 kilometers away. Jonesy says he thinks they will all become barbecue, but Amber asks him to calm down. Nina remembers an abandoned factory she saw on the way and suggests going there in search of help, but Jonesy disagrees. During the argument, he falls near a trap and discovers that they are used to capture people. Frightened, he wants to flee by the road, but Jake warns that it would be too risky, so the group decides to stay together and move forward. Meanwhile, Dale treats his wound and discovers that the old man uses dynamite to fish. The man also warns that Dale was lucky, because many enter that forest, but few leave alive. Dale asks about the cannibals, and the man reveals that an old factory contaminated the region's water with chemicals, causing many babies to be born deformed. Because they were rejected by their own parents, they were abandoned in the forest, where they grew up alone and continued reproducing, generating increasingly worse descendants. He also warns that these creatures are extremely resilient and tells Dale to hurry before nightfall. Before leaving, Dale asks why he still lives there, and the man replies that he never managed to leave. Then he claims that God is taking care of his revenge and moves to attack him, but Dale defends himself. Dale then immobilizes him, lights a stick of dynamite, and attaches it to his back. Fleeing afterward, the old man follows him outside, and when trying to shoot, the dynamite explodes. Dale checks the weapon, but discovers it has been damaged, and enters the house in search of something useful. While walking, the group hears the grunts of the maniacs and approaches. They find the cannibals near what they think is Elena, but soon realize it is only her remains. The cannibals then move to attack them. Meanwhile, Nina keeps running, but ends up falling into a trap along the way. Amber and Jake stay to fight and manage to injure one of the attackers, making the other momentarily distracted, but he soon recovers and resumes chasing them. Nina remains trapped in a pit and starts screaming for help, while the rest of the group continues fleeing. Jake decides to separate to look for Nina, while the cannibals approach in a vehicle. He finds Nina after hearing her screams and manages to pull her out of the pit, but ends up dislocating his shoulder in the process. Nina helps him put it back in place, and he says they will meet at the factory. Upon hearing the cannibals approaching, they speed up, but end up reaching a waterfall. One of the savages catches up to them and shoots at them, and with no escape, the two jump into the water. Meanwhile, Amber and Jonesy begin to be chased and run through the forest in search of survival. Along the way, Jonesy gets caught in a trap and screams for help. Amber tries to free him, but he spots one of the maniacs approaching and tells her to run. Amber refuses and tries to grab an axe on the ground, but realizes too late that it is another trap, and she also gets caught, leaving the cannibals satisfied. They prepare to attack, while Amber tries to calm Jonesy, who still tries to say a few words. However, both are hit by a single arrow and die on the spot. Dale begins tracking his friends, while Jake and Nina manage to get out of the river and reach the factory. They enter the place, and Nina complains about the darkness, but Jake reveals a small flashlight. The two find the management office and begin sneaking inside in search of a radio. Nina finds a telephone, but it does not work, and soon notices a cabinet. When opening it, she is startled to find a corpse, realizing that someone had been hiding there. They hear a vehicle approaching, and Nina tries to run, but Jake stops her. She says it is a trap, while he asks her not to abandon the others. The two head to the factory yard and find several cars, when suddenly they hear someone asking for help. They decide to investigate and follow the sound to the trailer. Jake enters and realizes it is a trap, since it is only a recording of Michael being killed. Meanwhile, the cannibals capture Nina and move to get Jake. He tries to fight, but is overpowered and also captured. From a distance, Dale watches everything and begins to follow them discreetly. Later, Nina wakes up trapped in a cage and realizes that Jake is also tied up. She witnesses the cruelties being committed while one of the cannibals appears filming. Another member of the family kicks the boy and pretends to shoot Nina, who responds with insults but ends up being struck. Then they tie her to a table and prepare for dinner, even performing a kind of prayer. Nina cannot believe what she sees and asks what is wrong with them, but is ignored. Meanwhile, Dale continues searching for his friends and finds one of the women of the family grinding meat. After she leaves, he enters the place and goes back to rescue them. Unintentionally, Dale makes noise and attracts the attention of the cannibals, who go out to investigate while Jake continues screaming for help. The deformed siblings search for the intruder, while Dale hides and cuts his own arm to use the blood as bait. The plan works, and they follow the trail to the trailer, but do not find him. At that moment, Dale hits one of the brothers with an arrow with dynamite, and the other tries to help, but is also killed in the explosion. Dale then rushes to save his friends. Jake shouts for Nina to wake up and says she needs to free herself from the chair. She tries, but the trap pierces her hands and she faints again. Jake begins to lose hope, but at that moment Dale appears. He uses a knife to free her and tells her to go ahead to protect herself. Then he frees Jake and asks him to find Nina and keep her safe. Shortly after, Dale is hit by arrows while continuing to insist that Jake run away. Even wounded, he still tries to react, but the mother of the creatures appears and throws a chain around his neck, suffocating him to death. The cannibals notice the death of their children and, enraged, go after the group. Nina manages to get out, but Jake is not so lucky and is thrown into a meat grinder. The woman turns on the machine while he is pushed inside, and Nina, outside, hears the screams. She decides to go back to help him, pushes the woman against a log, and jumps onto the man, making him release Jake. He then grabs a hammer and begins striking the cannibal, who ends up falling into the grinder and being mutilated. The savage gets up and attacks Jake while trying to help her companion. Then she prepares to kill Jake, but Nina releases the log, which hits the woman and causes both of them to fall into the grinder. Nina turns off the machine and runs to help Jake, and the two head to the yard, where they find a working car and escape the place. After the escape, the chemicals end up leaking into the stream. The contaminated water is used by another cannibal to feed a newborn, and thus the film ends.